Hey everybody, I've got such a fun video for you today because you've probably seen shows on TV like Overhaul and like Wheeler Dealers, and they are some amazing fix-it-up shows and then resell them, but they're also super unrealistic to how the actual car market and flipping world goes. But in this video, we're going to show you what it's really like, because next to us is a Subaru Forester, which you probably saw just a couple of weeks ago, that looked terrible. And Brendan has it. I mean, he's done so much to it.
Yeah, it's made quite a transformation in the last few weeks getting this done, but it's been fun.
So in this video, we're going to show you how Brendan transformed this Forester and also how you can own this very vehicle. So this Subaru had like, what, 170,000 miles. It was under $2,000 when you bought it, and it definitely was a little tired in some areas.
Yes, yeah, it needed a cat because it was throwing a cat code. And then I believe it was throwing either a camshaft or a crankshaft code as well going on in there. And so what we did was we replaced the primary cat because it was bad. As soon as you took it out, it was rattling all around. And to get that camshaft code off there, we just put in oil. It was low on oil.
That's it,
and that literally cleared the code.
Wow. I would never have guessed. There were no oil lights on, it wasn't knocking, it wasn't doing anything, but that's all it took, huh?
That's all it took. Yeah, and we cleared it, and I've driven it about 150 miles since, and it has not come back.
Now the other thing that definitely wasn't working was the AC. Did you get that going?
Yeah, so some viewers noticed that this air conditioning compressor right here was missing its belts, and it was completely locked up. So we tossed that one, found a good used one, put a new belt on it, and recharged it. It's blowing great now.
Now cosmetically, this car was also pretty rough, and one of the big issues was the tailgate didn't open.
Yeah, and that was a pretty simple fix. It was just the locking mechanism was stuck. And so he just had to literally take it apart, clean it, and lube it, put it back together. Now it opens perfectly.
Look at that.
Yeah.
And we don't want to spoil the interior because that's a whole other story. But what else have you done on the exterior?
So on the exterior, as you guys saw, it had rust on both of the rear fenders. And we cut that rust out and patched it and then repainted it as well. So that way that rust can't spread any further.
That's good, okay. And then still have the cool General tires on it, as I see.
Yep.
That was the fender, the side thing which I ripped off, which now looking back on.
Yeah, and he had a few clips, thankfully. So we got it all clipped back in, it's secured and doing what it should be doing.
And the biggest transformation is at the front of this car, because this thing was kind of a mess at the front.
Yeah, so this hood in some areas was down to bare metal. So we sanded it down and repainted it, and then also sanded down and repainted the front bumper. So it's not a perfect paint job, but it looks a heck of a lot better than it did.
Yeah, you still have a little fading like on the top of the fenders. And like you said, it's not a perfect match, but it's 1,000 times better compared to what it was.
Absolutely. I like to call it, it's like a 10-footer. You stand 10 feet away from it, and it looks like a factory paint job.
Sure, we'll go with it.
Yeah.
By far the worst part about the Subaru was the interior, which was, I mean, it was a toxic wasteland. But look at it now.
Yep. Yeah, this thing was gross. So I filled an entire full-size garbage bag full of just bottles and mayonnaise. Found some gas sacks in there, and yeah, there's a whole lot of stuff in there that got thrown away.
What are gas sacks?
Gas X, I guess, to help relieve him from his gaseous body.
Oh, no. So you're telling me that this gentleman was a habitual flatuator?
Yeah, I would say so, and maybe that caused a little bit of the odor in the car, but I think the worst part of what caused the odor in this car, which it was a little foul, once we pulled that back seat out, there were 2 dead mice in there.
No!
There were two very dead mice that had been in there for a long time, and yeah, I think it was creating a little bit of an odor. So we got those out of there, sanitized and cleaned that entire area, and made sure that everything was gone from that remnant.
So did your detailer like have to pull anything out, like the seats?
Yeah, he pulled the bottom of the rear seat and the 2 front seats completely out and shampooed the carpets all underneath there and everything.
Yeah, I mean, it's like night and day. I was very hesitant to even sit in this car before, and now it's like not far off what it would have been, 15 years ago.
Exactly. And the only thing it's really missing now is floor mats, and the floor mats in this were just too far gone, so we just chucked them, and I figure whoever gets to be the new owner of this can put in whatever floor mats they'd like.
Unsavable, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. So now that Brendan has this car looking pretty darn good, I want to do a review on it because these older Foresters are really, really cool and offer a ton of bang for your buck. If you want like a light adventure vehicle, something to go camping in, definitely consider one of these. One feature which this Subaru has, and it's not unique to this car, several other models do, but I think it's really, really smart, the heated windshield wiper element. So actually in the base of the windshield, you'll see these little orange elements, and that's for heating the windshield wipers. Of course, Subarus are designed for very, 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 very cold environments, and having that is a great way to kind of defrost your windshield wipers, but it's not automatic. Like some cars, there's actually a button over here on the dash.
So one thing I noticed about this back seat is if you flip down the center armrest where there's normally cup holders, they didn't give you any. But what you have to do is you have to actually ask politely to the front seat driver there, hey, do you mind giving up that armrest of yours so that I can have a place to put my Slurpee? And then there you have cup holders that actually are in like the perfect spot for the backseat passengers.
So the clever storage continues in the trunk under the floor. Now, typically in a new car, you'll have one area where you lift it up and there's a little bit of storage, but they've got like all sorts of little compartments in the back of the Forester. Now, of course, you've got this big one, and under there, you've got these 3 little trays, which is pretty neat. But then you also have cubbies on every side of the vehicle. So under here, you got a little cubby. It's your tire iron. Here is a separate little cubby. There's your jack. There's another one up front, which is just a space for longer stuff. And then if you come over here to the right, yet another little teeny weeny cubby, which is, well, this one has a screwdriver in it, but you could put whatever you wanted in there. And then of course you have storage on both sides. Now one thing, and I have no idea what this is for, are these rails. So you've got little hooks here, which is kind of cool, but what do these rails do? Let me know if you know in the comments below.
And then up here in the sun visor, they give you a little pen holder, a place to hold your parking tickets or business cards. And then even here on the dash, you get additional storage, which somebody's used to put their State Farm tracking app in there. But good place for, I mean, anything you could imagine, your sunglasses, whatever you need to put up there. And then you also get not one, but 2 sunglass holders.
So I know people gave Subaru a lot of heck in this era for the quality of interiors, but I actually think it's held up really well, even with 170,000 miles and what, like 14, 16 years later. So we got this cool kind of texturized material across the front of the dash, kind of hard plastics up top, but I love all the tan on the seats, the tan across the dash really lightens things up. We've got this kind of flat silver in the middle here, aftermarket head unit, automatic climate control, which was a nice touch for 06. Of course, 5-speed manual transmission down here, and even heated seats, so it really isn't a bad place to spend time. So Subaru actually has something pretty cool up here on the roof. This surprisingly large sunroof. Now nowadays in 2022, panoramic sunroofs are very common. Back in 06, they weren't. Most sunroofs probably went to right about there. But check out how big this unit is. It extends past the front seats and over to the rear seats. Now this one doesn't work and it's a little bit cracked, but it is still a great way to let a ton of light into this cabin. So Brendan, what I think is cool about these older Foresters is it's kind of a classic car which doesn't exist, because it's kind of like a mix between a station wagon and a crossover, because it's got the body style of a station wagon, but it rides high like a crossover.
Yeah, it is really kind of an in-between vehicle. They were going after things like, you know, the Ford Explorer and whatnot back then, but this sits way lower than a lot of those, and so you have a less tendency to kind of tip over if you wanted to take this off-road.
Well, what I like about it is it's a perfect box, so it's just like it's got a perfect square right in the back, right? Which is great for holding a lot of stuff and a lot of dogs.
Absolutely.
Not a lot of torque though.
No. But no, they did do a good job of utilizing the space for sure.
Yeah, really good job. What's the engine in this? Do you remember?
It's a 2.5 liter boxer engine. It's got about 170 horsepower. Yeah,
and actually when you put your foot into it, like once you get into the higher RPMs, it does chug along pretty darn well.
Yeah, it does move pretty well. I mean, it's not the turbo model, and we're up here at elevation, so we've lost quite a bit of power, but I think it still gets up and moves just as well as it needs to. And
these are the roads, of course, that Subarus were built for, these kind of fast dirt roads with some holes in them and maybe a little bit of a water crossing. It's great to have standard symmetrical all-wheel drive in these. Plus, there's not a whole lot of other utilitarian small crossovers where you can get a manual transmission.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's pretty unique in this space. You just don't see that very often.
Right. Yeah, I'm pretty impressed. This thing is actually very cool.
It's just a good reliable vehicle.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, as long as you make sure the oil's topped up on these, they'll run for a long time.
And it's also worth noting too that, like, if you did want to make it a little cooler, there's aftermarket companies that'll sell you lift kits, and you can put bigger tires on them and skid plates and all sorts of fun off-road stuff.
So one thing a lot of the commenters mentioned, and I didn't know this, is that if this has a bad cat or is throwing a check engine light, the cruise control won't work on this. And that's why when I brought it to you, it was just flashing cruise control and wasn't actually working. But now that we've fixed all of those issues that were causing that check engine light, cruise control works like it should, just like I mentioned.
Super cool, dude. That's a really fun fact about older Subarus.
Yeah.
Maybe even newer Subarus.
It's like they wanted to make sure you go and get your car fixed, because otherwise you're going to be punished without cruise control.
Brendan has done an incredible job of turning this car around in such a short amount of time, from the paint to some of the engine stuff to, of course, the interior transformation. Dude, it looks great.
Thank you. Yeah, a little less than 2 weeks, and I mean, think about it. You got a new cat, you got a new air conditioning compressor, you got new paint on a whole bunch of different parts of the car. This thing now runs great.
Now, if you guys want to own this very Subaru, it's up on TFLbids.com. Be sure to check it out. I think it's going to go pretty affordably, because these things are pretty affordable, but it's got all-terrain tires and a lot of nice features for a small amount of money. Let us know what you think. Brendan, thank you, dude.
Hey, good to be here.
Really appreciate it. We'll see you on the next video.
Sure.